Good evening. I think it's day 18. Yes, because Monday's the 20th of my day 20. Okay, so we're day 18 live. Happy Friday. Yes, no? Happy Saturday. Okay, that shows you it's the end of the day, a very long day. I've actually been teaching off and on, making up lessons because I have a recital tomorrow to kind of finish things before I head into surgery. But in the midst of that, maybe like you, I've been pulling up the news and been looking at, reading about the fires in California. And between the fires and the shootings, I felt like I needed to kind of say something about all that. It's kind of serious what's going on out there right now. We've had two shootings and in 2 weeks, and now we've got these fires, and these fires are even encroaching on an area where those shootings happened. And so there's a lot of people hurting, and I think some of us tend to see that and feel that and kind of get weighed down by it, even to a point. So at the same time, I'm working on a devotion for a magazine that I write for, and it has me, I've just been really thinking about walking on water again. I talked about it about a week ago, but I'm just intrigued by this. And so what I've been thinking about is just, again, I don't know how to really bring it into my life, the notion of the amount of faith it took for Peter to step out of the boat. Even just a minute ago, I was talking to my husband about this, and I was trying to express what I really felt. And I honestly felt like I was, like some of the things I would say were just like what I would have heard back in Sunday school. You know, it's like the same kind of stuff. Like I wanted to feel like I was hearing, like I can say something new about this, and I'm not sure I can. However, what I do know is that I can, it's almost like, you know, we hear the same stories over and over, and yet sometimes they go deeper into our soul. And so something about this whole walking on water thing is going deeper into my soul right now. And so I want to say a couple things. Number one, you know, if we really stop and think about it, the whole episode of the walking on the water occurred right after 5,000 people were fed from 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Like, we read these stories, but do we really comprehend the divine, miraculous thing that went on? I mean, something crazy went on. We believe these miracles happened that they just don't make sense to us a lot now, but these miracles happen. So right after that, right after they fed the 5,000, Jesus sent the disciples out onto a boat, and he dismisses the crowds, and he went up into a mountainside to pray. And he stayed there till the 4th watch of the night. So it's like 3 to 6 in the morning. So basically we've gone from dinner through the entire night, and the disciples, from right after dinner was finished and everybody's fed and it's all cleaned up, they were sent into a boat out on a lake where it gets quite windy. So they've been battering the wind all night. They've got to be exhausted. They're tired. And all of a sudden they look up, and Jesus is like approaching, and they're kind of like, oh my goodness, like, is this for real? Is this really Jesus? Or are we seeing a ghost? Are we like do we really know what we're seeing? You know, I mean, they had no idea. So for those of you just joining, I see little names popping up. I'm just talking about walking on water again. But what gets me about it is that so Peter says, okay, God, if this is really, he said, Jesus, if this is you out there on the lake, tell me to come to you. Now, I think that's kind of a funny thing that he said. Like, why didn't he, you know, you're going to prove it that it's you if you invite me to get out of this boat too. Like, what if somebody sinister had been inviting him out of the boat and he was going to sink? Like, why would he believe it? But anyway, so whatever. Peter steps out of the boat, right? And I mean, really imagine stepping out of a boat and walking on water. Like, can you imagine, like, everybody around would be going like, this is not supposed to happen. This doesn't happen. We don't walk on water. You don't defy gravity. It's not just gravity, but it's the laws of water. He defied 2 things. And we tend to spend a lot of time, I think at least, so accustomed to the way there's a gravitational pull on our bodies that we just don't think about and maybe what I'm going to go to here is the emotional pull. There's an emotional pull, gravitational almost pull on our psyches, on our emotions, when it comes to worry, when it comes to doubt, all those kinds of things. And forgive me, my mouth is a little bit tired tonight. I'm not sure why. So the more I talk tonight, the more my mouth is going to go. But we're just going to deal with that, aren't we? So Peter stepped out. And then he said, I'm not going to I'm not going to accept the norm. I'm going to try this. I'm going to step out. I'm going to believe that I can go against the way we've always believed it. And so he steps out and he walks on the water, and then he gets closer to Jesus, and that's when he starts seeing all the wind and the waves and everything scaring him, and he can't do it anymore. He loses his ability to watch, to stay above. So he says, wait a minute, save me. And so Jesus reaches out his hand. And I thought about that. Isn't that interesting that he was that close to Jesus, that Jesus could hold out his hand and grab him, and yet he had gotten so scared that he was sinking into the water. And Jesus said, oh, you have little faith. Why did you doubt? Why did you doubt? You were almost here. I have you. I'm right here. So I want to tie it into where we are right now, because that it is so easy to look at all this. I mean, we are surrounded. You and I know it could be us tomorrow. We could go to church and someone crazy could show up and start shooting. It could be us. We live in the reality of crazy stuff's happening out there. So that worry, that heavy, that doubt, that fear is just something that is just grabbing hold of people in a whole new way, I think, in some respects. And yet Jesus is saying, hey, you don't need to do that. I want to be bigger in this stuff for you. I want you to believe that the emotions that you expect to feel in a situation, what you've been trained by society, or maybe would have been normal for you, do not have to always be normal. You can fight to get above them. You can fight. You can look at me. You can keep gazing at me. You can fill your spirit with my word, and I will move in you. And you can have a faith that moves the mountains. And I don't know, there's just something about it that just challenges me again, that, of course I would love to see my body all better. And here I am talking about all this and my face is being weird tonight. But I can't let this be a symbol of who he is. What I can do while my body and my home, my things, my children whom I love, anybody out there, we're at risk of crazy stuff happening all around us. And that way fear can come in. But what I can do is say, no, my soul is his. My soul is his. This part of me is going to fly. This part of me will walk on water. I say that knowing that tomorrow I could be sitting here bawling over something. There's no doubt that there is grief, that there is stuff to still happen, but I'm just really convicted again of the notion of, Lord, I want to believe for something bigger. I don't want to sit, or maybe it's just even freeing myself from the fears about myself to where I can pray better for other people, where I can shine with him more. Maybe that's what it is. And then maybe those little steps eventually lead to bigger things like walking on water. I was going to just say this as I was thinking about it, because the best example I have tangible in my life is that if you've read my book, The Great Undoing in My Journey Home, check it out if you haven't. It's real cheap on Kindle. If you've read it, you know that part of what led to the great undoing was that my second husband and I, Don and I, got involved not too long after his wife died. And part of what happened was he talked to me after church one day, And I went home and I just had this weird feeling that he would call me. I'm kind of one of those who gets those weird feelings, and I have that sense about things, and I had this feeling that he was going to call me, but it made me nervous. I really actually wanted to do nothing to do with a widowed man. I had actually been really hurt by 2 widowed men, and I didn't want to have anything to do with them. But this feeling wouldn't go away, so I went home and I'm walking around in the rain, and because there was this light summer sprinkle. And I went 4 times. Then I could walk up and down hills. I went 4 times around the block. I come up the last time. There was this big hill that I would walk up. And I get to the top of my driveway. And it's like, Lord, what's up? And I just felt him say, I felt the Holy Spirit speak to me, however it is that happens, and say, Susan, he's going to call you and ask you for coffee, and it's okay. And I stood there and I thought, why is this okay? This can't be okay. People will be upset if we go out too soon. But I felt like the Holy Spirit said, it's okay. You've been alone a long time. So I went in my house. This was a big moment. This was my, hey, Susan, come out of the boat towards me moment. Susan, I want you to believe that I'm speaking to you and I'm telling you to come step out of this boat. So I step out of the boat. I walk into my house, kind of wondering if I've heard God, wondering what this is about. I am still in wet clothes, and my son comes to me, brings me the phone, and says, hey, Mom, the phone's for you. I hadn't even heard it ring. I answer the phone, and it is Don Davis. Oh, heavenly days. I about fell over. And we talked for 2 hours. We talked on the phone for 2 hours, and it was like holy ground. I mean, it was like, he was like, I don't know. The thing I love about Don Davis is his soul runs deep, and he has kindness in his eyes. But so we talked about what it was like to lose someone and to feel God's presence in it. That's what so much connected us, was this sense of wonder in losing our spouses. And so we did get together. We had that coffee. In fact, that's the very last thing he said on that phone call was, hey, you want to go have coffee? Again, I about fell over on the floor. So we had coffee, and again, it was really sweet and tender. So we got together again and again. And many of those initial dates that we had, if you even want to call them that, one time he actually brought all of his photo albums of his kids, and we sat in a Moe's kind of up north and looked through the pictures. And he just needed to tell me about his family. And I understood the need for him to talk about it because I'd been there and I knew. So anyway, all that aside, the point is, I'm only saying that to say that it was a very divine time in my life. It was, hey, step out of the boat, walk on the water time in my life. But then people found out, and it went nuts. And all of a sudden, people were saying things I never dreamed they'd say about me. People were thinking things about me I never dreamed they'd think about me. And I just sunk. Eventually, I really did get down. I mean, I lost perspective and I sunk. And I had to work again. I mean, it's just the greatest picture. What was so frustrating was, Lord, you said I was supposed to go here. You said, come out of the boat. You said, try to go this way. Why is it so hard? And life is going to be this. Like, I know there's going to be moments that we're called out of that boat and the wind is blowing and things happen and we lose a sense of control over our situation. But he says, just keep looking at me. And what I had to do to find myself again was to look at him a lot more. I mean, that really is the simple truth of it. I had to get my mind back on who Jesus is. And as I really worked just day after day, month after month, I began to make more ground. I got stronger. And, here I am today, it's been about 4 or 5 years now making these videos. And again, I'm doing this kind of feeling a little bit like I'm out there with it, but it's healing me to not care whether I get a big audience, a small audience, whether my makeup's on, whether my makeup's off, whether my hair is fixed. That's not what this is about. This is about me saying, okay, God, 40 days. I want to declare your goodness in my life. In the good moments when my voice works and when it doesn't. So anyway, I just, I know this stuff out there, it's crazy. The world is in a really swirly spot right now, but that is why all the more we are called to look at him and stay out of the boat and say, Jesus, show me, and to find little ways through the day that we are conquering the negative thoughts, that we are declaring his truth, and that we are believing that our emotional response to things can defy the laws of emotional gravity that we're used to. I mean, seriously, he said, do not worry. I mean, guys, I don't know really how to do that, to not worry. That's such a challenge. But what if we learn to get so unattached to these things that we think are so important that we really could not worry, that we could be pillars of strength for his kingdom? Again, I say all that. My face is a little wonky tonight. It's getting a little bit better. I actually led worship somewhere, which was a real treat for me. I mean, somebody called me or sent me an email a couple weeks ago, said, hey, will you just come do a couple songs at this event? It was a sweet time about missions, but it was so cool for me to get the chance to sit there, to number one, have to practice, and number two, just to get to sing in this professional setting and just declare the goodness of God. He is good, he is holy, he is worthy, even though the fires are raging, even though people are being shot. And I do not say that lightly. I have lost my first husband. I watched somebody die of a brain tumor. I really don't want to repeat that. Do not get me wrong. If it's my kid who's shot tomorrow, I will be weeping. But I will continue to declare that he is good and he is worthy and he is above these things. So let's rally, people. Let's rally on behalf of Jesus. Let's get out of these boats. Let's stand there on the water. Find one way. Let's try to stand on that water and look at him and just keep asking him to really show us how to make a difference. Okay, hope that's made some sense. Hope it was worth your time. But either way, thinking about it all day has been good for me. Okay, appreciate you guys. Have a great Friday. Till tomorrow. Oh, wait a minute. Have a great Saturday. Actually, tomorrow is Sunday. Okay, see you later. Bye.